was the first thing that I really had to get over. I was
Mhm.
so worried about how I was presenting myself or how I was going to look, because not that I was embarrassed about how I looked, but I was so nervous of how people were going to perceive me, you know? And that's what initially my junior year, I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to be watching this. And that's what got me nervous. It wasn't the fact that I couldn't do it. It was just realizing, okay, 35,000 people are going to be watching me do this. Don't screw up. Don't sound stupid. Don't look a certain way. Like, dress like this, not like that. You can't, like my boss told me, you can't wear your hair up. You need to learn how to wear your hair down. That was the most intimidating part, is just feeling like everybody's going to judge me, especially in that first year when I was the in studio analyst. So that was a huge, huge milestone that I had to get over, because I was like, okay, well, obviously I played college hockey. I know what I'm talking about. But they don't really know who I am, because how many people watch St. Cloud State women's hockey games? So it's not like I'm a recognizable face. And I have to sound like I know what I'm talking about, when I could casually talk to you for an hour about a game that just happened, right? And
Mhm.
think nothing of it. But when a camera's on and all these people are sitting there judging you on how you're saying something, or how you're breaking a certain play down, or if you're saying the right things, that was really scary. I personally didn't like that experience because of that. I just put so much stress on myself that I didn't like. That's why I liked the ice side reporting a lot better, just because it was with my friends. I knew the coach really well. I knew the players. It's quick. You can ask a couple questions and that was it. Nobody's going to be tearing apart you nearly as much for one or two questions than an entire segment of an intermission where you're breaking something down and maybe sounding stupid or maybe not, you know? So that was
Mhm.
definitely something that I had to get over, and probably still am. We talk about how people come to like slander you or tell you you suck, but then you got the other people who are making you feel gross the other way, you know, like commenting on, oh, I liked what you're wearing, or sending you messages that you don't want to receive, that is on the other side of the spectrum too, that makes you feel uncomfortable. So it makes you double check, okay, what was I wearing, and what I was wearing inappropriate, you know? But it wasn't. It's just people that are gross and creepy, and you're going to get that on social media all the time, you know? So I don't think you have guys dealing with that nearly as much as women being sexualized, I guess, especially in sports. I think that's a very big area as well. It does come down to the intimidation factor, especially if you're talking about play by play or color commentating, especially for sports that women don't necessarily play, like per se football. It's hard for people to understand a woman that is commenting on a sport that they've never experienced. Usually, like if you're looking at the NHL, say Gigi Marvin, who does color commentating, she has a very big background in hockey, Olympic medalists and stuff. So people respect her opinions. I think that's the rare case where it has to be qualified and understood as to why their opinions matter, which sounds a little bit sad, like just like any other man. I'm sure there's guys up there who've never played sports, but they sound good, you know? So I think that's just a battle that women have to face and try to overcome as the years go on. I mean, we're already moving in the right direction. I think that's the next step. So women are getting into the production, they're getting on the sidelines, they're doing what they can to kind of move into the industry. I think that's maybe the next step, is having people accept that even if they don't have their own personal background in the sport, doesn't mean they're any less knowledgeable than say a man. It's definitely the people watching, you know, the people that don't know what's going on ever, they just like to voice their opinions when they have the chance, even if they're invalid or whatever. People just like to complain, and I
Mhm.
think that's another area that women really have to battle or have to be strong minded. I worked with Erin Andrews this past year.
Oh,
I
wow.
was her assistant when she would work for NFL Network,
Okay.
when she would work Vikings games. And I talked with her a little bit. She was initially really intimidating, just because she needed what she needed and she didn't chat a whole lot. But I think the more that I worked with her, she opened up a little bit more, and she's just like, I'm very hard headed when I come to work. So I'm sorry if I come off cold. It's just you, with everybody yelling at you from the stands and having all of the opinions that you know are going through people's heads, in your head, you have to block them out. You just have to do your work and know that you're doing a good job. And that's something I feel like men never have to deal with. They just have to, show up because they're expected to be there because they're a man. So that's always going to be something I think women have to work through more than men do. But I think it's, again, moving in the right direction where it's becoming more accepted. I think it's necessary because everybody likes sports. You see all these women on the internet, wearing their Vikings jerseys or wearing the NFL team that they represent, and they're getting so excited for the games, and they like sports just as much as any guy does. So why wouldn't they be allowed to talk about them as a profession? I think that's really important in the equality of, okay, well, if you love it this much, why can't it be your profession just like a man can? And having that validation, I think, is really important. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like a field that should be male dominated. I mean, women play sports. It's becoming a lot bigger thing. People are tuning into women's Olympic games a lot more too. That was a huge thing this past year in the Winter Olympics. Don't be afraid to go into the industry as much as it maybe seems intimidating. It is a lot more welcoming than you think. It's more of the outside world that gives their opinions when they're not needed. So everybody that's in the industry is really great. Everybody works well together. Everybody's accepting of everybody. And it's a really fun area of work to work in because everything's collaborative. You're all working to one goal, and you get that immediate like gratification or satisfaction once you're done. You're like, okay, yeah, we just had 50 people work for 2 hours together to put out a broadcast, and now we're done, and that's all that we had to do for the day. I think that's something that I have found really rewarding rather than, say, the field that I was in before, where, oh, I'm studying for 3 weeks for a test, and then I have to wait to get the results and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Everything that you're doing is hands-on. You get to work with people. You get to talk about sports. You get to watch sports. Who doesn't love to do that? So I just encourage everybody to be open-minded about it. If it's something that you really have a passion for, then go into it, learn a lot. You learn so much in such a short period of time, and the journey is great, and I encourage everybody to consider it.